What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. We'll talk about some very, very key levels to watch for as the market's attempting a rebound this morning, and whether or not this rebound is going to last. Will we end up getting a big rejection or not, depending on some key levels? But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends very soon at the end of March. Anyways, as far as SPY is going, when you zoom out of the charts and just look at this very carefully, you guys can see that we had this very, very nice looking channel we were trying to break out of. So we had this previous resistance, which is now becoming our, this was once support, but now it's becoming our resistance again. We basically broke through this, bounced off our 200 EMA. Now we're retesting this resistance. So see, the yellow resistance is getting retested right now. And if SPY could break this, we're going to be looking for an attempt to see a much bigger push higher. Now, if we reject off this and we end up losing like the 602 area, we're going to be at risk of dipping to fill this gap. So I'll talk more about this setup in just a couple of minutes. Let's first talk about some news and such. Don't forget that today is Monday, February 24th. We have some minor data coming out. The next thing coming out is going to be the Dallas Fed manufacturing numbers, quite minor at 10:30 a.m. But then at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3 and 6 month bill auction, so that could cause more volatility. But that's pretty much it. For more news, we have Berkshire Hathaway, which just announced their earnings. They did relatively well. Then we have HIMS announcing earnings after the close. The Home Depot and AMC on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we have Nvda, so just keep that in mind. That's going to be a big one. As far as they went, we ended up seeing their Q4 results powered by insurance underwriting, whose operating earnings were up over like 300%. They did better than expected. We actually saw a lot of their operating businesses report a slight decline, despite the fact that we saw some nice looking numbers. They had a record cash at the very, very end of the year at about $334 billion. And then on top of this, we ended up seeing them continuing to offload some positions. So overall, could this be a sign that they are apprehensive about the markets? It's a possibility, as we're seeing record cash being held. Besides that, there's some news coming out about Nvda. Nvda has a massive market cap and it's going to have a big effect in the market for Wednesday. I do agree with that. And besides that, there's nothing else that's too crazy, at least for the news. We did see a bit of a dip over the last couple of days because of some bad news, but we're going to be watching to see how it goes from here. So, like I said about SPY, we're watching this resistance where this trend line is. We're going to be watching this very, very closely. If we fail at 602, we have a gap to fill all the way down to 600. So make sure you watch and see, can SPY hold above 600 or not? And then if we do hold above it, then this is going to once again continue to push higher, as there's a lot of potential to try to start this recovery move. Now, we're watching that as our support, so make sure you watch 602 just to be safe. But what about our resistance? We're going to be watching this trend line, which happens to be in the 603s. If we can hold above the 603s at the very least, I think there's a very, very good chance that this is going to try a very, very nice rebound. And we could be looking for an attempt to get back up towards our previous highs. So, from how I see it, let me just draw this out for you guys. Right, if you're bearish on the market, you want to see us reject off this and lose 602. If that fails us, we dump to fill this gap. If we break past the 603s and we hold above this, then we're looking for a attempt for 605, and then this imbalance up here around just under 607. So 605 to 607 is going to be, a more bullish target if things go right. So just keep that in mind. We'll be watching this closely just to be safe. We are trying to balance here, but we need to see us break some key resistance to really start going. So I'm watching this trend line to see if we break past this, and if we do, we will try to bounce. We are favoring that we want to bounce. It does look a little bit more probable, but just to be safe, we'll be watching our charts. Notice that on the QQQ, we have a very similar setup. So in this case, for the QQQ, it's quite simple. It's all about the levels. If we lose 527, okay, we dumped the 525s very easily, okay? But as long as we're above the 527.5 area, this could attempt to bounce for 530. We're watching to see, is this going to be a higher low and rejection, or is the market bounce from here? I need to see this hold above 528 for this to hold. If not, we could be dumping to fill this gap. So give this some time. For the Russell 2000, I need to see this get and hold above the 220 area. If that holds, we're looking for 222. If we reject off 220, we're looking for a move back down towards 217. I think we might be testing 220 very soon. We'll see if we bounce. For ES, very similar setup. So we basically have the same setup as SPY. We have this resistance where we rejected many times. We broke through this, and now we're trying to bounce off this trend line. So this is actually, I would say, a little bit stronger than SPY. If we lose this trend line, this is our support at 6,030, depending on the timing. We easily dump to 6,000 or below. If we could hold above this trend line, there's going to be a nice attempt to get back up to 6,075 and 6,100. But we got to hold above this trend line. I would like to see us hold this and treat this as support. If we hold this, I'm looking for a bounce that could help SPY push higher. Like I said before, the setup does look a bit more bullish, but we'll see just to be safe. Same exact setup on NQ, right? We have this blue resistance right here. We rejected many times. Let me just close some of these lines just so that this chart is not like overwhelming. But just know that we're seeing something very similar developing as ES. So we retested this trend line right here. We need to see us hold this. If this holds, we're looking for a bounce attempt for about 21,900. If it rejects here, we end up losing the blue trend line. We're looking for a dump to about 21,500. My guts is telling me that we're going to try to hold this blue trend line and start pushing for about 21,900. There's a very good chance that's going to be what's about to happen. For Bitcoin, we're just trading sideways in a range right now, not really doing a whole lot. We're just consolidating, so just keep that in mind. For Nvidia, as long as we don't lose 134, we're favoring a push for 137. Get above that, and I think 140 is coming. It's going to try to push higher. It's showing some life here, but we haven't broken 137 yet. So if we reject there, we're coming back down to like 135. If we hold above 137, we're looking for an attempt to push for 140. I could see a small bounce. It does look like it wants to. Apple's a little bit weaker. We are trying to hold 243. We need to try to hold above that to bounce for 246. If we can, we're going to be at risk of dipping closer to the low 240. So we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For a few more, we have Palantir. It's on a bit of a downtrend right now. We have to see if we can hold 100. If not, we're going to be at risk of dipping towards like the 80s to fill that gap. Still looks relatively weak in terms of its setup. Coin is on a bit of a downtrend, got a big rejection here. It's trying to gap up, but it's a very, very small gap right now. I need to see it get back above like 245 to really bounce. If we can't do that, we're going to be at risk of returning to like the low 230s. Keep that in mind. It's not looking that great. On Amzn, we had a key support at 215. As long as that holds, we could be looking for an attempt for the 220s. Now, this is looking better. It looks a little bit more bullish. Meta is looking a little bit better. As long as we don't end up losing like 682, this could attempt to bounce. If we lose 682, we're looking for a dump to about like we have this imbalance to fill. So if 682 fails us, I think we dip to like 675 before we try to bounce. So it depends if we could hold that or not. We're trying to gap up, but we're looking kind of weak. Microsoft is kind of flat here. We have to see if we could hold 405. If this holds, we're looking for a bounce for like 410 plus. If 408 fails us, we're looking for 405. So keep that in mind. For Google, I want to see this break past 185 to remain bullish, 185.46. If it breaks down, we're looking for 187. If not, we could be dipping. So we're in a very, very critical place. The market's trying to gap up, but nothing's guaranteed until we see if we get a rejection here or not. So I want to be very patient just to be safe. Watch your levels just to be safe and see if SPY could hold 602. If not, we could be dipping lower. Anyways, that's it for this one. I want to make this one nice, short, sweet, and simple. I'll be back with another update in just a couple of hours, and peace out.